Morning, Jessica.
Yes, sir. How are you this morning?
Comes-
Thank you. I said, wait a second, what happened? Maybe I missed something.
I had no idea. Yesterday I was on the CEC Zoom and I couldn't get all the buttons to work because they're limited my access. And then you give me access, and then I try to get back access, and I accidentally clicked thumbs down when Jessica was making a presentation, and I didn't know it. I was trying to put my
Wait, I
hand
don't
up.
think I did anything bad.
So she sent
No,
me
it
an email
was
this morning. I didn't know you didn't like me.
you guys both did a great presentation yesterday.
Yeah, it was
Thank
very good.
Thank you, much appreciated. Like I had to check in. I thought maybe I missed something.
I hope you didn't lose any sleep over this last night.
I did not. I did not.
Great. So, how are you doing there, Ainsley, with our quorum?
So we only have 5 people, so we need another 6 people for quorum. I did receive a lot of no's that they're not able to come today, so I wonder if we might just want to get going and then we can vote on the minutes another time, or it looks like a couple more
Yeah,
people
I
are
mean, it's
joining
gonna be
now.
mostly information anyway today, and we could get going. Let's give it 2 more minutes and then we'll start. So I suppose everybody's half frantic with the holiday celebrations. Hanukkah's going to start in a couple days, and then Christmas. So
Perfect. We need 3 more people for quorum, but if we get that, cool. If we don't, it is the holidays, so.
okay, well, why don't we get started? And so, speaking of the holidays, I got my little holiday necklace on. So I wish you all happy holidays. And I really appreciate how well you've just worked this year. People have it's been fantastic, and so it's for me it's a real positive thing to go into the holidays with. So we're gonna skip the minute approval. And let me just say, before we get started, I'm really happy that June Chung is going to is with us, and she's going to say a few things in another minute or two. She's Ainsley's boss, and just been terrifically supportive. And just I met with her the other day, and we had a great conversation. So, so we'll skip A, and then Ainsley, would you like to talk about the commission feedback form?
Perfect. We actually do have quorum now, so we can switch over to the
Okay, go
meeting
back to the minutes. So do you want to take care of this, Ainsley? Just ask people if they, and then call for a vote.
Yes, if anybody has any additions or edits, I of course want to make sure that I got the votes accurate. So I just want, if you guys want to look over the votes and make sure that I have everybody in the right spot.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, they are normal meeting minutes. So.
Okay, and just just to let you know, we have a website. We store all this stuff, and we have a Dropbox, and everybody gets copies. And when if they can't find it, they can always go on the internet and pick them out. So we try to keep all of our documents, all our minutes, and everything in there, so that everybody has access to all the information. So okay, you want to ask for approval then?
I move to approve as written.
I'll second. I can second.
Okay, terrific. Thank you. Back to the agenda.
Let me switch this.
Okay. The commission feedback form.
Perfect. So this is just another little shout out for the commission feedback form. It's really quick. It's just 3 questions that asks what is working well, what might work better, what you want to see improvement on, and any scheduling concerns for next year. So we can start working through the scheduling for next year. It's anonymous, so nothing you say will hurt my feelings. If you want to fill it out, feel free to do so. Shouldn't take too long.
Well, it'll hurt my feelings, so be careful, please. No, please let us know anything and everything that you think is useful, even if it's a criticism. I mean, you can always put it in terms of suggestions, or we don't like to be negative. So, but because there's always room to do new things and better ways to do things. So, okay, Ainsley, would you like to introduce your boss?
Of course. So today we have June Chung, who is the Director of Policy and Legislation for GOCAP. So GOCAP staffs this commission. I'm the staff person for this commission. She is my boss. She joined us in July, and if she wants to go ahead and introduce herself as well, feel free.
Thanks, Ainsley. Appreciate it. Yeah, I think it was the end of July, August. It's been a whirlwind. So I am new to GOCAP, obviously, and I'm like up and running, and here we are, and it's already December. I just wanted to say hello and make sure that you realized I was here and available and tracking what's going on too, and sort of obviously Ainsley's leading most of the effort, but as Director of Policy and Legislation, I'm overseeing sort of the broader picture of that. I just wanted to let you all know that I came from the governor's legislative office. So I started when he was inaugurated in 2023. And while I was there, I was a deputy legislative officer, and I had health and human services in my portfolio. So prior to that, I came from the Department of Legislative Services, where I worked 4 sessions as both a bill drafter, and I staffed the Appropriations Committee on the House side. So I got some of the budget experience and budget knowledge, which was helpful. So I do have the government background, but the public safety and the criminal justice topics are a new subject to me. So I'm getting up to speed on that too. But just wanted to let you know that I am here and available, and I am just wanted to make sure you saw my face. So, and as the governor's office, we're definitely very, we're in the position where we're staffing these various commissions. We are the state administering agency for all of the federal and state public grants for public safety and criminal justice. So we managed all of that stuff. So, yeah, I see Diana has a question.
Yeah, actually, June, nice to meet you. And you probably have heard the positive rumors, but Ainsley has been invaluable to us. So she is a busy person and tries so hard to keep us on track, but as well, having come from state government as well, the work she does as staff to the commission is over the top. So I'm sure there'll be a big state bonus for her this Christmas. There's this holiday, but just again, I'm sure you've heard this, but just wanted to do it publicly today as well.
That's like wonderful news. And I can totally see that too. I trust her in terms of also technology, and, that's where she's awesome. And I know that definitely running the commissions takes a lot of sort of legwork. So yes, appreciate it. Thanks for that comment.
Yeah, she's been terrific. And not only is she able to just take care of all the stuff that goes along with it, she is really terrific to talk about things, and she comes up with good ideas and better ways to do things. So it's been wonderful, because I'll turn things over to her. I'll write it up. She'll fix it to tell me where it's wrong and what can be done. And it's just been a great partnership. So it's really refreshing to see such a young person being so talented and so capable. So she's been. Would you mind just a minute talk about what you see the role of commissions are? I mean, here's a commission. How many commissions are there? How many put out how much work they put out each year relatively? Any kind of observation would help us understand our role and how we're doing.
Well, I think the best thing would be to just go back to your legislation, right, and to the statute, and to sort of make sure that you're following that. On our GOCAP website, you reference the commission that has that reflects your website, that reflects the agenda and the minutes and so forth. So any of you can go to GOCAP's website, and we have our commissions all listed on there. And usually, due to the Open Meetings Act, we're actually putting all that information out there and trying to be as transparent. In terms of just the numbers, I don't think I could speak to how large that is. I think, you're looking at probably a lot of different commissions, but, GOCAP is also tasked with a lot of we're the administrating agency for federal and state grants, and that actually takes up a lot of what we're doing too. So the commissions are sort of like an additional task. And our role is to basically just advise the governor's office on the direction that he wants to take on policy and legislation and other kinds of actions in that regard too. So it's sort of like a twofold experience. But I would just, again, rely on your legislation. I think for those of you that are familiar with state government, you know that a lot of times studies and commissions and task force are created in order to study issues and do the research and do the analysis and provide recommendations. So.
Okay. And is there any kind of conflict that we have to watch out for? I mean, as a member of commission, we're doing what, we're trying to do with stick to the prison education delivery system reform. That's our task. I mean, I said to you the other day that I see my role as working for the governor. I was appointed by the governor. So, I mean, we've learned a lot of things, for example, and it could be very subversive and go and sneak things out to newspapers and things and says, this isn't going right. No, I see that as just a real conflict for me in this position, to work with everybody. And we see it as a challenge to repair, to fix, to find solutions, but not to go out and I mean, if there's an issue that's really severe that I come across, I'm going to report to you and to the governor's office that I think this or that, but not to go out beyond the commission, to keep within our role here. That's how I see my role. But can commissioners be involved with legislation, and how? Can the commission create or recommend legislation? Is that okay?
Well, that's typically not what happens. It's actually not a governor. It's not a governor. It's not. This commission was actually legislatively mandated. So okay. Again, you should follow the statutes, and with the executive branch, our role is to enforce the law. So that's what we're doing, and I would again encourage you to do that. It's not standard or typical for for commissions to be making public statements, I believe, or issuing that kind of stuff. The commission has to be focused again to your statute and to the legislation and focus in on those duties. And if you make the recommendations, but it's not the commission's, I think, mandate to actually be getting into legislation. So I think you as an individual, as a chair, can speak for yourself in your own personal capacity, but the commission is tasked with putting out and issuing the recommendations. And it's usually a report at the end of the commission's existence. So
okay.
I think there's a hand up, I believe.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm very fascinated by that experience that you have in finance, as well as here, and now you're here. And I think that's wonderful, because I think that's one of the huge disconnects is between finance and understanding what's going on with the money and what's threatened and what's not, and what we're doing today. So as a commission and with somebody with your experience, how would you say the best way for us to kind of attack that gap and build a bridge is? Do you have any recommendations for us?
That's a very tough question that you're posing. So, again, I'm going to just say, go back to the mandate and sort of look at the evidence. I mean, I can speak to, having been with the governor's office since 2023. I know that there is a very strong commitment, and you see it in GOCAP and you see it in our executive director as well, that we want the data and the evidence to lead us to make the best decisions as possible. And I would say that, again, that's what we need to focus in on, and I think that's the task of any commission, whether it be in criminal justice or public safety, right, is that we're doing the research and looking into things and getting all the right people to the table to sort of take a look at, what our best practices with regard to whatever that topic might be. And I think for those of you that do have experience in state government, I think you're aware, and I guess I still feel like there's so much that I don't know and that there's so much to learn. I feel like I've learned a tremendous amount. I would just be open to continuing to learn that. But one thing I can say for sure is that all agencies, I think, like all state government, it doesn't matter if it's executive branch, legislative branch, judicial, we're all working with like limited pockets. You know, we are not the private sector. So it's sort of learning, I think, how best to manage like what we're tasked with the funds that we have. I don't know if that's helpful or not. I hope it is, but it's a tough charge. It's a tough charge. So
Thank you. And I would be remiss if I didn't say, in addition to Ainsley, we have probably up to 50 different people that have been very active. We have the 25 commissioners, although we haven't had any senators. We've had 3 delegates who have just been with us the whole time on the visits and everything. We've had high-level representation from labor and public safety, and they contribute tremendously. We have people who are formally incarcerated on this commission, and they have been invaluable. And they bring the perspective that none of us have that we would miss otherwise. We have all the colleges that are involved, you know, with the system, and creating the new programs under Pell Grants now, and that's going very, very well, being coordinated by public safety, by Danielle Cox, and just I don't want to keep mentioning names because I'll miss somebody, but people have been participating and not just watching, but really creating all kinds of stuff and bringing things up for solution and bringing up solutions and doing research. And I'm just amazed at how well and everything has gone. With our stakeholders, the 3 groups have been doing all the work for the commission. Many of the commissioners are on these stakeholder groups, but you know, they've just been wonderful. And we've had I think a very positive experience for the most part. We bumped heads a few times, but then we kind of straighten it out and go forward. And I mean, I've just been blessed with having such great people for this commission that it's just a real joy to me. I look forward to all the meetings. You know, I'm not scared of these meetings. They're so positive, and I think that it's because of the whole government, from the governor on down, the positive atmosphere. And like you say, most of us we have empty pockets, but we have lots of other tools, and they're doing a great job. So I want to thank them, and let you know how well I appreciate all of them.
Okay.
Now, Ainsley, what's our next agenda item? Or unless there's another hand up. Are you going to stay with us for a little while, June? Or you're welcome to stay the whole meeting.
I actually think I need to go. So thank you. Appreciate the time and best wishes. And again, appreciate all of the folks on this commission and the time that you're putting into this. I know that, appreciate the service. We need it. So, all right. Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Before we do the next update on the annual report, I would be, there's been a death of a terrific teacher from who worked for a number of years, retired maybe 10 years ago. Jewel Kessler was a literacy teacher at MCIJ, and a number of the teachers have called me, and there's a memorial at a funeral parlor in 5151 Baltimore National Pike tomorrow, and from let's see, what time is it? From, got my thing here, 5 to 7 p.m. and I'm definitely going and asked to say something, because this woman, well, if you were a teacher and you had the following honors, I mean, this would be wonderful. How many teachers have had a first lady visit their classroom? How many teachers have been honored by WJZ? How many teachers have worked on and put together video training for PBS? And how many teachers like that work in a prison? I mean, there's just nobody like that. And she was just a wonderful person. The incarcerated folks loved her. And so if any of you are interested, Jewel Kessler's memorial, and I don't know the name of the funeral parlor, it just says 5151 Baltimore National Pike. And then there's going to be a celebration at the Morning Star Baptist Church also. So anyway, so much for that. But Jewel was one of the best teachers I ever met and had the privilege of working with. So I wanted to mention that. So do you want to go on now, update on the annual report, Ainsley?
For sure. I can give a quick update on the annual report. So the annual report is currently going through GoCap's review process. These annual reports have to be formatted a certain way to be submitted to the governor, legislative services, Speaker of the House, and Senate President. So it's currently going through our copy editing process here at GoCap. After that, it goes up to my boss, June, and then it goes to our executive director, Dorothy Ledig, who approves it. And then after that, it's going to be passed on to the governor, Senate President, and Speaker of the House. That's what it is. So it's still in the process, and I'm hoping to get it done by the end of the month. It's kind of out of my hands now. It has to go through all of those other people, and as you know, the holiday is kind of a busy season. So that's where the annual report stands.
Thank you. And yeah, so it's out of our hands, but our experience with the interim report was that it didn't take very long. It took a couple of weeks and it was done. So that's one of the reasons why we did it early, so we could get it in time for the session. So,
yes, absolutely.
okay. So future activities. Angie and I worked on this. She put together these recommendations, made some comments, and I went and made some comments, and she edited my comments. Let me just tell you where are we going from here? And so the key to what we're going to do is our recommendations and our future activities. So this is for you to look at, and maybe if we have a chance today, we can talk about the priorities. But our new role is we've created so much in a way recommendations. So and the stakeholder groups were so influential in getting all this done. So we really have, I think the first year is sort of come up to speed as to what we understand about the system. People have learned much more about what everybody else is doing. So we have a pretty good knowledge base. We can learn so much more, but we're in a position now to start acting on some of these recommendations. So, so what we would be doing starting in January is the stakeholders groups would start working again, maybe on their recommendations and which ones to prioritize. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that. We also have the future activities that are listed in our report that we need to work on. So we need to look at that and prioritize the work so that we can begin the process starting in January. And so if you look at, for example, the first section there on adult basic ed, look at number 1 there. So it's to advocate for the creation of a data dashboard for key performance indicators for correctional education programs. That is already taking place as a result of some recommendations and the hard work of Dollar and comments and help from public safety. There's a transition to how does this even pronounce? Click? I'm not sure, but that's the software that they're working on for our database. And so we're going to need to discuss and work with Dollar and do it and provide feedback to the departments, because I think we're getting to have a lot more transparency with our data collection and our reporting and getting out monthly reports. And so that should continue. So what I would like you to consider is adding to this. What else should we do for this commission thing that we wrote, continue receiving updates in italics, is something that Ainsley and I put together. So what else should we be doing in terms of this particular recommendation? I want you to think about that, because I think the first meeting we have in January, we'll really prioritize these things. So this is your work, this is your homework for the holidays when you have nothing else to do. And so we'll come back to this. So so you can see under each one of the recommendations some things you put down. Here's one here, stop at number 3, that is a role for particularly for some of us, for Ainsley and I, the commission to assess current models and alternative school board systems. We're supposed to do research in this area, and so we're going to be working for example, with Danielle Cox, who is positioned in the Correctional Education Association as the head of the state directors of correctional education, to access all the members. And we're going to have to figure out whether we're going to do a survey for them, or we need to set up a rubric about what models should look like. And so Ainsley and I are going to be working on this. We'll be bringing it back to you. And so that would be one thing that Ainsley and I would prioritize, particularly because Delegate Pasteur is going to introduce legislation to underwrite the commission to create a committee to do this. So we're going to start ahead of time because it's not what we want to do anyway. So that's an important thing. So we put together particular items here. And so and let me ask this. Now, if we go to career technology, the next one, Diane, this is your bailiwick. So I don't want to put you on the spot now to come up with a definitive thing, but these are put in the order that you guys voted them anyway. But, you know, as chair of this group, I'd like you to consider, for example, recommendation number 1, which was conduct a review of transitional program and ensure offerings are aligned with population needs. It's the recommendation in the report's a little longer, but what would you say are some of the things? What I want you to be thinking, what are some of the things you would see that you guys would be doing in your committee for this?
Well, as you said, I haven't had a chance to think about it directly this morning or gotten feedback from others, but I think first going back to some of the background material that was in one of the other reports, it was like a summary of some of the things that we saw in the site visits. I know that a number of things and more staffing has been established. I don't know if the staffing ratios are up to what we need to be or hope to be. Don't know that. We know the other issues of officers and all that, the impact on the programs. But I think we need to look at the elements that's in the transition programming in terms of career exploration or financial literacy, all those kinds of life skills things that of which some of that stuff I know is already in there. But to what degree and what specificity, I don't know at this moment. So we'd have to go back and look at some of the content curriculum offerings. So is that what you're asking?
Yes, exactly. Because I mean, what you're saying is we need to talk with DOL and public safety to get more material, get more understanding, see what's going on, and be a sounding board for them at least, and with recommendations back and what have you. Yeah, that's perfect. And I mean, I don't mean DOL and public safety have a terrific role here, and they're the ones doing all this stuff. But we're the ones that are tasked with kind of helping the delivery system. So yes, do some more research, find out what they recommend, see what else we can do to help them.
Right. And the other thing that I know is a challenge across the state is that not every institution is able to offer the same kind of reentry and transition programming for a variety of reasons. It's just either staffing or something else, or security sites or whatever. So I don't know how to at this moment, but I think that we should hopefully look to have as much consistency across the state, because we know, like at the moment, because of lack of officers, what many men in Western Maryland, what transition services are they getting at this time because of all the other external factors? So,
Okay.
or police for whatever, just using those as examples.
Jessica has raised her hand.
I think you're on mute.
Thank you, Ainsley. I can answer a little of that before I hop off. But I spoke to this yesterday at CEC. So there is a lot of standardization in terms of what those services look like. For example, every student who is a part of CE that's engaged in occupation, they do leave with a transition plan, and that's at all of our institutions, and there's a handoff to a reentry navigator that supports them from 90 days behind the fence and then a year after. What does vary a bit are the transition classes, but we have 8 transition teachers across the state. So they teach things like employment readiness, life skills, parenting, etc. One of the things that we're doing to kind of mitigate some of those gaps in terms of, having the same amount of pins for transitions at all of our schools is to allow all of our schools to have access to TISP, to our independent study transition program, which is done on the tablet, which carries those same classes at a similar level of rigor and understanding with check-ins from the specialist. And there's a student support service employee that coordinates those efforts.
Jessica and Diana, one of the things I think that would be good during the year is I would love to see, just sit down with the tablet one day
Okay.
and then find out more about how people are using the tablets, how many tablets we have. In this case, are you talking about the Origin? Or
Yes, TISP
yes.
is available on the Origin tablets.
Yeah, and so I'd really love to just kind of one day do that and
Yeah, we can get you access.
and if you're telling Diana and others on the commission and on the stakeholders group what you're doing, that's exactly what we need to know. So
Okay.
that we could, and then it might be that you're doing terrific stuff and public safety is doing terrific stuff, but there's stuff beyond you that you can't control. Maybe the commission, because we have such wide-ranging membership, can come up with some support or some ways to solve this or get you some resources. So I want you to see this as a positive thing.
Mhm.
That in our role, we don't have any real power. We can only make recommendations, but all of us have some connections
Mhm.
and roles where there's resources.
Yeah.
And that way we can bring some force to help make these things happen better.
Okay. Yeah, certainly. And I can get you access to get an idea of what TIS looks like on the tablet. You can explore that from your laptop.
I'm looking forward to Diana and her work with you and as chair of this group. Diana, I hope you're okay with your back situation. So we all have to consider that she's having some back pain, but you know, she's just a trooper. I've always known she'd come into office, she'd be having a cold or something. She was always there, and that's the way I've always known her. So
Well, to Jessica's, I will be in surgery on the 7th, and I don't know how fast I'll flip back, to be honest. But if you, at some point, I'd love to see if you could email like a copy of the transition plan and that handout, because as Steve was saying, I think there's probably a lot of stuff that's happening that we just don't know, or where the gaps are, or
Yeah.
how we can help.
Yeah, I can get you a copy of the transition plans and access to what TIS looks like.
Great, thank you.
And play on it.
just as an aside, I mean, it's not really, it is related. Jamal Freeman wrote an email today because he couldn't be here. And he was talking about the difficulty of people coming out with no IDs or not sufficient IDs,
Yes,
and how that's how they can have a plan, but they can't do anything until they have all this. So I want to make sure we add that into maybe under future activities, because I don't know where else to put it right now. But I mean, he made a really big case for it because doing his work out there, he's run into a real problem with getting people into services and jobs because of lack of identification.
That's
part of
been an
transition.
issue for 30 years and it got better, then it got worse again, then it gets better. So I think that may be an area where the commission can be helpful, because as Steve says, you're dead in the water if you don't have your IDs for anything.
Yeah.
So, and this is not a new issue. This is one that we've been struggling with for decades.
And it came up in our last meeting as well. I do unfortunately have a hard stop at 10:30, so I'm gonna hop off that meeting, but I will be back on for our next meeting. Thank you so much, PDR.
If you can have a great holiday.
You too.
Thumbs up. Double. Okay. All right, Diane, do you have anything else you want to say? And listen, good luck with your surgery. I'd love to know if you send me a note how you're doing. I've had the same surgery and you know, I'm very sympathetic. And mine is perfect result. I'm 15 years out and I'm just doing terrifically well. Andrea is chair of the Stakeholders Higher Ed group. So, you know, how do you see this for starting in January? You have your recommendations here and a couple ideas that we threw out there of how to work on it. Really putting you on the spot here.
Yeah, no, I look forward to January and meeting with my group to talk through these and how we might tackle some of them. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens with the legislation. I think that was like the number one thing for our group in terms of something tangible that could perhaps get done this year. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, no, I just think our group will meet in January and walk through some of this. I don't have anything specific at the moment. I'd like to hear from my group when we meet.
One of the things that may happen is there may, as this legislation goes through on these aid issues, you may be called or others may be called to testify. I mean, it could be, Goucher, or it could be you, Andrea's chair of the stakeholder group. And I think that the delegates are going to be know who they can find on the commission to help. And the testimony is, one of the things that's good is you don't have to walk around trying to find parking down there. You can do it by Zoom. And I saw that working pretty effectively last year. But getting down there and talking to people is important if you can do that. Face to face is always much better, at least initially in the beginning of the session, and then after that, it's easier to do it by Zoom. But it may be called to testify on these bills to loosen up the requirements so that incarcerated individuals can get funding. And I like the idea of emphasizing we don't need the total funding tuition. To get the tuition, we need the other stuff. And some of these things, I mean, and so it's not like we're taking all the money away from somebody else. We're taking enough to keep to support the colleges. So, okay. So does this sound like a plan? Putting these things together. I mean, is this just a gimmick to get us started? All of our recommendations here, some of the things we could be doing. I just look forward to working with you guys on this. And the other thing that we didn't put on this list, though, that would be the future activities. And maybe that we've got so much to do that we say, hey, I can only do this or that this year, and we end up simply doing 3 recommendations instead of the 4 or 5. But we have future activities, for example, that also we talked about. Incentives. We put that aside because it's so complicated. So we maybe Angel and I will do some research with a few people on that. So that's a future activity. And there's 8 items altogether. The status of virtual education, how it's going. We thought that we'd get a virtual thing going at RCI because of the issue of not being able to go to school with the shortage of officers, and that it didn't get started. And we really should follow that. I'm sure that John and Jessica and Danielle could probably speak to that right now. Why it's not going to happen? But we need to come up with some solutions at these places where we don't have officers. So maybe that's a real good future issue that we need to get into as much as we can. John, what do you think of that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, Secretary Scruggs has actually been very vocal in the amount of officers that they're hiring. I want to say in the last 90 days, they may have hired 100 officers across the state. And they're starting in areas where there are the biggest shortages. So we're starting to see some of that turn around. In some places where we had 100% closures at school, we're operating at 20, 30, 40% capacity at the moment. So things are turning the corner, and Secretary over at DPSCS is absolutely making a difference and moving that along.
Do you see that that you're still going to pursue this virtual instruction?
So the virtual instruction has 2 components. Number one, I think it should be a permanent part of our portfolio for just in case. Obviously, staffing is not a thing that's always going to be permanent. We're going to have ebbs and flows and the capacity to actually provide instruction. So the virtual instruction should be a permanent backup plan that we always have in our back pocket. Right now, it's being used a lot more than we want to use it because of prolonged staffing shortages. But understand, I'd still believe that it has a permanent place as a backup.
Okay, good, because I see it. I don't see it as a replacement for teachers.
No,
I mean, we found out.
We don't either.
We found out through COVID nationally that it just doesn't work well enough. But it's a great addition, a great tool, and I hope we can have internet tools, and we can have an institution that everything works within that local area network very well.
Sure.
There's money involved with that. There's cabling. There's all kinds of things that need to be done, but we should be working towards that. Okay, but see, that's an example of something that we have put as a future activity we want to probably jump on and take a look at. And we'll look at these future activities starting in January and see if some, it might be that some people on this commission might want to pick that up and do some work on it for us. And so we get individuals working on stuff and presenting to us so that we don't burden one committee like Career Tech or with another of 15 things to do. But you know, we can bring some experts in to help us. I know we're going to have some help from some people testifying to be helpful. Stefan Labuglio, expert on national expert on reentry, is been talking to him, and he wants to even join our meetings and maybe be a regular part of them, and then look at our reentry and all the stuff that's going on and make some helpful comments. He's a very positive person. So we have a lot of resources we can pull in. We have a lot of resources we can expand. So are there any other thoughts on getting started next January, things we ought to think about or consider? Well, before I forget, Ainsley, let's make Jamal's suggestions like in that future activity number 10 or something, although it can be integrated with some other ideas, just to keep it there as a placeholder, okay?
Yeah, for sure.
I think Jamal will be very happy too that we listened to his thoughts on that. Okay, any other comments? Ainsley, and anybody? Danielle, about our direction of where we're going here?
I think we lost a number of people because we are past 10:30. But if anybody else has thoughts, who is here?
Do we lose Danielle?
Yes.
Okay. Well, make sure that she's part of the whole. Judith, as our editor in chief and all that, do you have any thoughts and comments? I want to thank you for your
No, I'm impressed with how much has been accomplished. I actually never saw the final report after I submitted to you my edits. I don't know if that's top secret or.
No, you can have a copy of whatever we sent to the governor's office if you like, because it's in all your edits are in there, and the things that you said ought to be fixed, we fixed. You know, some incomplete thoughts or thoughts that didn't make any sense, we fixed them.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, as soon as we get the final one, which will hopefully be by Christmas, before Christmas, we'll send it out to everybody. It doesn't make any sense to send you. You saw the version that we just before we edited it, and not much of any substance has changed. It's just rubrics and format. But Judith did a great job, not just fixing commas and stuff. That's great. But she really said, "Hey, what are you saying here? It's not clear." And we James and I tried to fix that. I want to thank you. I want to thank everybody for a great year. And I just, everybody's been so helpful and cooperative. So, and I look forward to working with you guys over the next year and next couple of years, because we're entering our second year. So any final thoughts from anybody, please? I see Adam, you're on here. Any thoughts from you?
Nope. No. Thank you for letting our office take part in this, and thank everybody for all their hard work.
I thank you and Yvonne and all the staff for your participation. From the Ombuds office, as most of you already know, but the Ombuds person can go anywhere, anytime to look at anything she pleases. She has total power of that as Ombuds person to listen to incarcerated individuals, officers, anybody about issues that need to be addressed. And her office and her staff, Adam as their deputy, have been terrifically supportive. They went on all our prison visits. They attend all our meetings. They've asked to be included on all of our emails and all our meetings. And it shows how important they consider education. Because that makes it a little easier for their job with the work we're doing. So I want to thank you, Adam. Please tell Yvonne.
I will, and thank you, Stephen, for all that you do.
Okay. All right, we're past time. we've been past time. So any other comments? Okay. Well, Happy New Year, Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all the, anything that applies. And I just hope it'll be a little warmer for everybody, but everything be joyous and happy. So that,
Bye, everybody.
okay. Take care. See you next year.